Question number 3. If your pet could give you one piece of life advice, what do you think it would be?
To stop talking.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of 5 with T5. We're being local business owners, community champions, and all-around amazing individuals on the show. We had an incredible conversation, and we had a few technical difficulties, so the intro was a little spotty, so I had to just do this intro quick. We had Trisha Barone on, who is the newly appointed executive director of Anita Swan Humane Society. Such an incredible conversation, a lot of good stuff to know, a lot of things that you don't think about from a Humane Society standpoint, and some great events that are coming up. So please enjoy this conversation with Trisha Barone. Question number 1. You have to choose one. Lose your phone or your wallet?
My wallet. Only because my entire life is on my phone. I can't function without my phone. Everything is on my phone. My life is on my phone. It's probably really, really terrible and a really a bad security hazard. And if my husband, Eddie, who works at a credit union, knew what I stored in my phone, he would kill me. But yes, I can't lose my phone.
Got it. Then that makes sense. All right. Question number 2. Be able to talk to animals or control the weather?
Be able to talk to animals, no doubt. I mean, that if I had a superpower, that would probably be one of my superpowers. I hope you weren't going to ask that question. But I mean, just having that ability to be able to talk to animals and know how they're feeling and what they're thinking. And that's why I feel like our job is so important, because we are their voice. We are advocating for their welfare and we're their voice. So yes, that would be awesome.
All right. Question number 3. If your pet could give you one piece of life advice, what do you think it would be?
To stop talking to myself. So my dog just, she's always around me, she's attached to me. She's my little fur baby, my summer Clo-Clo. But I for sure talk to myself. I've got a bazillion things on my brain at all times. And, even Eddie is like, you dream crazy. You're flipping and flopping at night and you're talking in your sleep. And so, and that's unconsciously. So just imagine when I'm just roaming around the house and I'm talking to myself with all my to-dos.
All right, next question. You can swap voices. This is voices or a day in the life with a celebrity. Who would it be? So maybe if it's a singer, you want to swap with a voice, or it's just a day in the life with a celebrity, you can pick. But who would that be for one day?
I'm going to say George Clooney, because first and foremost, he is extremely attractive. And he is also best friends with Brad Pitt. And together they've got a crazy real estate portfolio. They've got vineyards, they've got production companies, they have so many things going on. And I just think that crew would be so much fun to even hang out with over the weekend. So I would absolutely love to be George Clooney or Brad Pitt, either one.
Perfect. Last question. If you can turn a household chore into a fun game, which would you choose and why?
Mopping the floor. I hate mopping the floor. And so we have a lot of tiles, a lot of slate tiles in our house. And so maybe I could, my kids, they don't really like to do chores, but maybe I could make it fun. And it's like, okay, you have 10 squares that you can mop, and okay, you have 10 squares that you can mop.
There you go.
And just kind of make it more of a fun game, and maybe give them a little math lesson with it.
Love it. Well, you survived the first 5 questions. Congratulations. Let's get into, I want to talk about the Humane Society and your new role there, but tell us a little bit about Trisha for those who might be meeting you for the first time.
Absolutely. So I have been in our community my entire life. And before at the Humane Society, I spent 18 years at Utica University. I played various roles there, a lot of fundraising and advancement roles, director of operations, chief of staff to the president, board secretary. So this position at Anita Swan Humane Society could not be any more of a better fit, because it is literally all of those buckets all into one.
And so it was a recent, you just got hired there, right? I mean, there was
Yeah.
so how long ago was it?
So at the beginning of the year, and I have to say that the board is so extremely engaged. It's just so refreshing to see a board that actually is very very hands on. So hands on that my interview process was months long.
Sure.
So yeah, I really wanted to ring in the new year with this good news, and I was able to.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank
So
you.
tell us about, I mean, I think everybody knows Anita's Stephen Swan Humane Society. They know Stephen Swan Humane Society before Anita got involved in all of that. Everybody in the
Yeah.
area kind of knows the name, but tell us like, what do people need to know? What do you think people don't know, don't understand, or just some more general information?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So I was actually just in Albany on Tuesday for Advocacy Day and advocating for 6 animal welfare bills with Assemblywoman Buttinshaw and Senator Griffo's office, and it was amazing, amazing meetings. And I also met with their staffers, and the things that I was really articulating with them, because you just don't know what you don't know,
Right.
is that this shelter sees about 2,000 animals a year. We have no federal funding. It's not like the people business, it's the animal business. So there is no federal funding at all. So it's very, very difficult to run a shelter without that funding. And I have the tiniest little budget. It's a $1.3 million budget for my entire operation, which is insane. So I am, really trying to work on a foster and volunteer program because, like so many other nonprofits in our area, we really need all hands on deck because we have the smallest little staff. We don't really have a lot of resources, and that's why I'm out boots on the ground fundraising every single day. So my goal this year is to raise $550,000. A lot of that hopefully will be coming from events, and I'll talk about those events later on in the podcast. But we have been around. This is actually 115 years. This is our 115th anniversary.
Wow.
We've been in our building on Horatio since the 1980s, and you can see it. It's very hodgepodge. There's been a lot of additions through the years. And we are doing the very best we can do with our facilities. But what people don't understand, I think, is that, when you're running an animal shelter, it is 24/7 care. These
Yeah.
are living things. So you just can't check out when you clock out. This is these are things that are happening 7 days a week. It doesn't matter if it's a holiday. When people drop off animals or surrender animals, or somebody gets arrested and an animal comes in, or whatever the case may be, it's 24/7. And everything that we do in the shelter as we adopt animals, we are taking care of everything there. It's not just food in shelter, but it's all medical treatments, it's immunizations, it's everything that you can possibly think of. And
Mhm.
it's an amazing organization with an amazing mission. But I think unless you're in it, it's really hard to understand it.
Sure.
And there are good days and there are bad days, and it very much is a roller coaster, an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Working at the shelter it's very physical, as you can imagine, but it is also very, very emotionally taxing, and it's like you have good days and you have bad days. You get 11 animals adopted one day and we are celebrating that success. And then the next day, we may have a lot of surrenders or people coming in that aren't happy, or,
Mhm.
it's, you just don't ever know. You can't plan your day, even though I try to plan every second of my day. But it's such rewarding work, but there are a lot of challenges with it that I think people don't understand.
Right, sure. I want to get into a lot of what you just said there, but backing up a little bit, talk us through the trip to Albany. Tell us about how that kind of works, and I think that's interesting for people watching or listening,
Yeah.
that might not experience what that would be like to go to the Capitol and have those conversations. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I was there in support of the Animal Federation. Obviously we were able to meet, I was able to meet with a couple legislators here in our area, in our region. And it was crazy. Honestly, it was a crazy experience. First of all, I have no sense of direction. I'm just going to say that. If I could say one of my biggest flaws is that I will get lost going around the mall. I mean, I really have no sense of direction. Thank God for Google Maps. But you can't use Google Maps while you're in the buildings.
That's right.
So there were so many people there. And then there were also people protesting. We had the CEOs there protesting from the Marcy incident. There were a couple other protests in several buildings. And I just had no idea how big all of these buildings are and how they all worked together, and how there was, kind of like little hallways to go into other buildings and, to other wings. I didn't know that. And so that was really quite the experience. But sitting down with the legislators was the most amazing thing ever. Everybody was so supportive. And even Marianne Buttonshot came out and she talked to me. I was scheduled to talk with her staffer, but she came out and she actually talked to me one-on-one. And she has been a huge supporter of animal welfare. So has Griffo. They both have been very big supporters in several bills that have been passed in the last few years. And I'm just so grateful that we have them on our team.
That's awesome. So pivoting back to the Humane Society, is it all volunteer based? Do you have staff, including yourself, or how does
Yeah.
that work?
So we have a very, very, very small staff. At our full capacity, which we are not at full capacity right now, there's 15 of us. But within those 15, you've got part-timers, you've got full-timers. There are a couple positions that are actually contracted positions. So I'm the only really administrative person in the building. So I've got a lot on my plate of, just wearing 50 hats.
Right. Sure.
I'm the development person. I'm the partnership person. I'm doing HR, I'm doing operations, strategic planning, budgeting, like everything that you could possibly think of. And I'm creating a volunteer program as well. So we do not have a large volunteer base at this point, but it is full speed ahead with a program that I will be kicking off, because we need all hands on deck. Like I said, we really need volunteers. So many of the nonprofits, as you know, you can't do this important work without volunteers.
Sure.
So we're getting there. We are definitely getting there. But in terms of the volunteer base, it's really going to be sort of two sets of volunteers that actually come in, help us in the shelter with different things. And then also foster volunteers, which are people that really take in these animals until we can get them adopted. Because what people don't understand with animals is all data points to really having like a 2-week mark with the animals coming in the shelter, meaning after those 2 weeks is when mental health starts to decline. That mental health would then affect the physical health. And an animal can go downhill very quickly. And sometimes there's no snapping them back. Sometimes you can't get them back to the way they were when they first came in the shelter. And again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, these animals don't have a voice. So
Right.
a lot of these animals have been through traumatizing situations, things that we'll never know what they've seen or experienced or felt. Some of these animals have been abandoned. Some are found. And some have a history of being put in a shelter and then being adopted. And then for whatever reason, it doesn't work out. It's not a great match. And then they're back in the shelter and then they get adopted again. And sometimes it takes a few times for them to actually find the right fit in that right home. And what I encourage everybody to do is, when you're getting to know an animal, give it some time. It's easier for puppies. It's easier for puppies or kittens. They have not been conditioned in any way yet. And it's easy because you're going to scoop them up, you're going to take them home, and then
Right.
you're going to show them what life is like for them. But for these other animals, you don't know what they've been through. And sometimes it takes a few visits to really see if you gel. Maybe the animal's nervous, has anxiety, it has been through things that they just don't know. And sometimes it just takes a little time. And then once you give them that time, you take them home it's, it's a completely different situation, but the shelter setting stresses animals out. It's they're in, kennels. Thankfully we have two side kennels, so they have much more space, which is awesome.
Hmm.
But I mean, this is where these animals are living. So it's like sometimes it does just take that time and that empathy to really try to connect with an animal and just really give it a chance where it's not always just an instant thing.
Yeah, for sure. So, talk to us about the surrenders and the adoptions. Like, what do people need to know of how that works? I mean, you alluded to it a little bit there, but there's obviously many different situations of why somebody would surrender an animal
Yeah.
or you find an animal or whatever that might be. But talk to us so that we can further understand that and then kind of how
Yeah.
the adoption side of the house works.
Absolutely. So animals are surrendered for all different reasons. There are reasons where, maybe let's say somebody has a mental health problem, right? They can no longer, they can barely take care of themselves, so they cannot take care of an animal.
Right.
You've got some stories where you've got seniors that are now going into a senior living, home, and you can't bring animals. You've got people that life circumstances have just completely changed, and and they have to move from their house to an apartment, and the apartment doesn't allow animals. You've got divorces, and splitting up things, your animals that way. And then we also have it where, if there is a crime, these animals are live evidence. Literally, they're live evidence. So they're not evidence that's in a box, at a police station. They're live evidence. And then
Right.
we need to hold them for so long until, their court appearance is done and we see what those results are. But, so it's all of those and everything in between, honestly. You don't ever know what you're going to get or when somebody walks in the door, what you're going to get. But what I can say is that we are open to the public for walk-ins, but you phone to make an appointment, and it's all on our website too. But to make an appointment, it helps with so much because it gets crazy in the shelter. It is crazy. I mean, I would love to just have one of those little door tickers to see how many people are coming in and out through the day, and they're all for different reasons.
Mm,
And it's so if you have an appointment, if you actually call in advance and make an appointment, we can then really give you that one-on-one time that we would really like to be able to provide to everybody that comes in, instead of, oh, this person just walked in and there's 10 other people here and we're trying to help everybody at the same time,
sure. Yeah.
you know
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what people don't realize too and talk about enough is the amount of different situations that could
yeah,
lead to an animal being there. And I mean, I'm sure you see that every single day in
absolutely.
all your work. So how do the adoption side of the house work? Like, how does that work with folks coming in and like what should people know about that?
Yeah, I think that, really just again, take the time to connect with the animal. What we do at Anita's is we actually have binders right at the front desk. So instead of taking people back to the kennels and making all the animals stress out even more, what we do is we bring animals up one by one to the front reception area. So all of our animals are always on our website and always posted on our Facebook. We have almost 50,000 followers right now on our Facebook page. And that is amazing because we very much have the champions and the ambassadors that reshare and repost. But it's again it's just it's all on an individual basis, and sometimes people will come in and they want that one animal that they see, um and that may not be a good fit. But so sometimes we will spend that time and go back and get, 5 or 6 or 7 animals back and forth, and then giving them time in between to see how they gel and to see if it's a good match.
Sure.
So I just encourage everyone, where if they're looking for a specific dog or a specific breed, or all of that is online. And it'll say online, good with children, not good with children, good with cats, not so much, so all of that information is there. And so it would be really great if people could just check that out so they can kind of filter their criteria and filter what they're really looking for and to see what we have. But we get new animals in just about every single day,
Yeah.
you
So
know.
do you like for the application process, I assume like do you ever have situations where multiple people want, the same animal or stuff like that? Like how does that come up and
Abs-
handled?
Absolutely. So it gets really crazy when we have puppies.
Mm,
In particular, puppies and kittens. Everybody wants a puppy or a kitten, and so there will be 100 applications literally coming in at the exact same time as soon as somebody gets word that there's puppies or there's kittens. So I have an animal shelter manager. Her name is Melissa, and she is fabulous. And she really takes the time to go through every single application.
mm,
She vets all the applications. She just sort of pulls it together based on the information on the application. And also, there have been some people that try to get away with other things, like, oh, this is
sure.
the first time I've been here. This is the first time, da 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 da. But they have been there. In fact, maybe they had been there a few times before, and we don't know what happened with their animals.
Right.
They're coming in, they're not being honest with us, which
Sure.
is a huge red flag for us, obviously. So it's a vetting process, but it's not a process where we want to make it difficult. I mean, our ultimate goal is to get these animals in and out the door as soon as possible. But we're definitely going to do our due diligence to make sure it's going to somebody that can afford the animal, that
Yeah.
actually has the shelter that they say that they have, that, doesn't have a cat if this animal doesn't do well with cats or vice versa. So it's really important for us to find that right match as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's all great information that I think a lot of people don't think about, and obviously with the team that you have there taking the time to vet all that's super important.
It is.
Coming up on our time here, I want to talk about some of the events that you had. You talked about that goal for fundraising, so tell us about the events and how people can get involved, what people can do to help, and just learn more in general.
Awesome. Thank you. So I just wanted to talk about three upcoming events. I have a ton. But right now I'm focused on the next 3 months. And with those, our big one is on Wednesday, April 30th. We are having our final telethon ever. So WKTV partnered with us on this. They're no longer doing telethons and these sort of events just because they don't have the resources to support it.
Sure.
We worked with the WKTV. The telethon is actually going to take place at the Community Foundation. They've been a great community partners. This is, like I had mentioned earlier, this is our 115th year of saving companion animals, and I want to make this telethon so special. So it's Wednesday, April 30th, from 12 to 8 o'clock. It is going to be a crazy event. I'm filling up the blocks of time for every 2 minutes for 8 hours. We'll be having some exciting news to share. And Staffworks, who is also an incredible community partner, is actually matching all donations that we raise during those 8 hours.
Oh wow,
So
that's
my
awesome.
goal is, so this is $100,000 event, fundraising event. But honestly, I want to like blow it out of the water. This is our last one. And I would love to walk away making $130,000 off this event.
Love
So
it.
fingers crossed there. But with this telethon, I know that, not everybody wants to call in. So this year we're also going to be having a Venmo SKU code on the screen for 8 hours. So for those that don't want to use our phones in that capacity, we can put it right up to the TV. We can donate that way. And it's just going to be a fabulous event, and we'll have a lot of different animals and different showcases during that 8 hours, and it's going to be really awesome. So super, super excited about that. And then I have this superstar volunteer. Her name is Donna Ray. She is in the group Screaming Nurses, and she is actually doing a fundraising event for us, and I am supporting her efforts. So she's doing this on Sunday, April 13th. It's going to be at Nothing Fancy from 2 to 5 p.m. We'll have some animals to adopt right there at the event, some great music, raffles, other activities, and other entertainment. So that is coming up right around the corner. And the last event that I wanted to touch on, and this is a big one, and this is our fall raffle. So we are only one of 3 organizations in Oneida County that does this raffle, and or that does this raffle in Oneida County. I think I said that. So our goal is to sell 3,000 tickets. This is a big $100,000 prize for somebody, and then there are a lot of other tier prizes, going down. This fundraising initiative actually starts on May 10th, and it goes until November 6th. And at that time, we'll actually have probably a Facebook Live drawing. We're going to do it on WKTV during the telethon, but we thought, we do something involved with that. We're like, I don't think that's going to really work. But
Right.
so this will be great because I really want to engage our social media and our 50,000 followers and do something cool and different for us, which is, streaming live on Facebook. So those are my big 3 things on the top of mind at this point.
That's great. I love how you're adapting with the events too, with like the stream on Facebook and the Venmo like that. You're meeting everybody kind of where they want to be met, and getting out to everybody that can possibly donate and help. Well, Trisha, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Just to recap real quick where people can get in touch with you, maybe just run right through those events and the dates so everybody can know about that, and then we'll wrap up.
Absolutely. So Sunday, April 13th is Rock for the Rescue with Screaming Nurses at Nothing Fancy from 2 to 5 p.m. We've got our final telethon, our milestone telethon on Wednesday, April 30th from 12 to 8. That'll be on WKTV. And our fall raffle will be kicking that off on May 10th, and that will go through November 6th. And I would love to know that person who wins a $100,000 prize. Maybe they'll share it with me. And people can reach me at 315-917-1510. And also my email address is tbarone@anitas-asshs.org.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time. Everybody, make sure to cross those dates off the calendar and be there and check all that out. We appreciate being here. Everybody, that's another episode of 5OT5. Make sure to check out our YouTube channel and Facebook page at T5 Insurance. Until next time, remember, the power of connection and learning from one another makes our community thrive. But most importantly, remember to make an impact in someone's life today, even if that's your own. Stephen Turnbull with T5 Insurance. We'll see you next week. Take care.